Welcome to the Unreal world.
A very strange place.
This is a survival roguelike set in Iron Age Finland, based on Finnish history and lore.
First released in 1992 and
1992.
Has been continually updated for 25 years.
25 years of active development and maintenance.
Yes. A Finn-like, exactly.
Now, I have sadly immediately before this learned that the game only supports having one character of a given name at a time. So my test file by which I initially sampled and learned the fundamentals here of Fjorg. A fine orb. But yes, I could not create, say, a second Fjorg to demonstrate the early game. The very, very early initial movements of survival without removing the existing Fjorg. So we will just pick up where Fjorg has left off. Fjorg has survived like a week in the woods on his own.
He has survived.
Fjorg is alive. His body is warm and capable of movement. Occasionally.
Usually, yeah.
Fjorg has seen several sunrises.
He has actually been unconscious for more of this than not, I think.
We will experience Fjorg, so as part of character build you choose a backstory to get an initial feature. I chose have an animal companion, which the gaps that are then filled in is you and your animal friend are the last survivors after your homestead was burned down by bandits. You begin with an animal friend standing in front of the corpse of your father and the charred remains of their field. Fjorg has put that behind him and begun a new life. A ways over. Alright, this is, loading up, so there's like also a tutorial quest chain you can do that gives you a bunch of free stuff. It's going to be stuck here for a while because Fjorg is not very good at hunting or tracking. He's not interested in hunting mostly, so most of that isn't going to happen. He got as far as fishing and shelter and basic magic, and the rest of this is going to sit idle for some time.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine, though. Because now we are here. Here is Fjorg. Here is Fjorg's hut, well, shelter. Fjorg's lean-to. Fjorg's spare overcoat. Here's Fjorg's sheep tied to Fjorg's tree. Here Fjorg's single block of fence. Fjorg's pile of wood. Fjorg's spare tools. Here on the shores of Lake Fjorg. Home of the hole Fjorg drinks from, the hole Fjorg fishes from, and the hole from when Fjorg almost fell in the lake, but he's fine.
Stay safe, Fjorg.
It is very early spring, the month of Sweden up there, that's April. So it is very early spring/late winter. Things is still cold, lake is ice, lake will thaw eventually. There is daylight and warmth by which to conduct yourself. Here's Fjorg's pile of rocks. It's quite impressive. It's like a fireplace worth of rocks. If someday put in the house, Fjorg will finish. Someday. He started on one corner of the Fjorg home.
Fjorg's warmth is hot. He's a very hot Fjorg right now. He is very vigorous.
And his vigorous Fjorg.
And his nutrition is, of course, abundant. He has many nutrition.
There are many nutrients in a Fjorg.
It's true. Very nutritious, that Fjorg.
So, let's see, let me go dig up my character sheet over here. Here is Fjorg in detail, Fjorg stats. Fjorg is reasonably intelligent, has very fearsome will of steel, above average strength, basically no endurance, completely without stamina, the Fjorg. Very dexterous and agile, very quick, but cannot sustain. He's a sprinter, not an anything else. and only a very brief sprint. He can take like 3 fast steps and then fall down and pass out and be incapacitated for 2 days while he recovers. He has okay to above average senses.
He will fall over in the rain, go to sleep, wake up because he's miserable from sleeping in the rain, crawl 2 feet, fall asleep again, wake up, and so on and so forth until he finally finishes the shelter he made once.
Yeah, building that shelter over there took more than one leg of work, between which Fjorg had to sleep in the rain in the winter. He's a good lad. All 69 kilograms of Fjorg.
Mm-hmm.
He's fine.
He's pretty tall. He's exactly 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
182 centimeters.
That's a partially finished corner of the house there, which is going to be hindered by the fact that Fjorg is actually getting better at carpentry. Terrible at construction, though. Pretty bad at construction, mostly from his background. Fjorg is an islander, so he began very good at fishing, at weather, at skiing. If you were ever going to ski, you can swim at all, which is above average for most of the old world. Widespread training in swimming is a thing that didn't really start to happen until more modern times.
Yeah, weirdly enough, there were actually a lot of sailors who straight up couldn't swim.
Yep. So that was also a part of a lot of sailors were not sailors by choice.
Yeah, a lot
preferred
of sailors were
means of recruiting for navies was scamming and abduction. There's a reason so many boats experienced like open riots of crew to the point that there's a separate word for it. Here is a tree that Fjorg was in the process of cutting down like 2 days ago. Let's get back to that. Go ahead and fell this tree. Alright, so there you can see, since the work was already half done, Fjorg is only at 55% fatigue. He's good and tough. Let's just shove this log over that way. And the game is quite quiet in its baseline. There are some portions of it that have incidental music, but the baseline is just being alone with the forest. So let me just go ahead and find some woods ambiance. Here we go. 10 hours of forest noise. Now we're getting immersed. And just get that carved up into a log. And there we go. Fjorg is now immobilized, completely destroyed with fatigue. We have that log, though. So Fjorg's just gonna have to lay down for a minute. Take a breath. Look at the sky. Alright, there we go. Fjorg is now, once again, capable of walking. Grab these branches. Pull them over here. This charred mark on the ground is where Fjorg usually puts heat cooking fire. Which, fortunately, we don't need, like, a full-time fire burning to maintain livable temperatures. The sun is up. The vague heatometer there, that's about freezing point at that line. So it's like a moderate number of degrees in the positive. Fjorg is well insulated. Here's Fjorg's only surviving friend, this sheep. Sheep is very helpful. He provides free beverage meal. Fjorg keeps several pounds of roast fish in his pockets, just always within arm's reach. You never know when he's just gonna run out of breath and not be able to crawl over to a food pile. Gotta keep a snack on hand.
Just always carries that gross, unseasoned roast fish at all times.
Correct. light morning, and I've put on all of the fatigue already just from felling that one additional log. Fjord's current main project is to try and assemble a house, which is quite an ask for him. I need 6 logs per section of wall that I want to put down.
And for the man who will collapse after cutting one log, he is trying very hard.
And then, after he has all of the logs in position, actually assembling the wall is also an ordeal for Fjorg. He can go ahead and try to resume the portion he was working on before. And there, you just briefly saw the progress bar, and that's how much construction Fjord can get done. However much you saw that twitch. Many days of attempted building have gone to getting a half-finished corner of a hut. Now Fjorg is dead. Fjorg must rest.
He's not actually dead.
He's not dead yet.
Pray for Fjorg.
Believe in Fjord. So let's see here. Get there and just quickly check on the armor loadout here. Fjorg is well insulated. Everything between the neck and the calves. No protection on his hands. Fjorg lacks gloves.
He doesn't need them.
Fjorg does not have good materials from which to maybe create a pair of mittens. Maybe? Let's see. Clothing. I would need leather or fur. I suppose I could, like, disassemble the spare coat. Maybe try to tear apart. He has a whole extra set of clothing that he peeled off his father's corpse before leaving home. As traditional.
Yeah. You better... excuse me. You better believe that your father also peeled, like, the belt off of his father's corpse, and so on and so forth. That is a belt that has seen a lot of work and effort.
Gonna rip a bunch of twigs off of all of these trees, since that's a source of wood that Fjord can do without endangering his organs.
It's not that fatiguing to get branches and twigs.
Mm-hmm. Just a quick pile like that gives, like, some hour of fire.
I love that the sheep is just constantly vibrating.
Yes, sheep. I have seen the sheep sleep once. At, like, the very small hours of the morning, it will fall asleep. Otherwise, it's just always wiggling around. Yeah, for the most part, the game is built around some pretty real, ordinary, down-to-earth wilderness survival. There's the one element of the supernatural in the form of the ritual system.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have various rituals you can do that Fjorg doesn't know much. Fjorg knows how to be grateful for catching a fish and ask nicely before cutting down trees. Where both of these are kind of economy rituals. Where what happens is when you do good spiritual things, you build up, like, piety in the background, and once you've built enough of that up, you will have a moment of revelation and then discover a new ritual. And then some of those actually do useful things for you, like prevent you from having your sleep disrupted, or make it easier to start fires, or attract more animals into your traps, what have you.
The most important thing is is the wonderful just fact that those rituals are kind of inherent and necessary. Permission to fell a tree, please.
Yes,
I would like.
You wouldn't want to anger the wood spirits. Trees are dangerous. Trees will cut you wide open.
Trees will cut a baby in half.
So, my ambitions for Fjord's hut or to maybe over the course of the year create like a 3x3 interior. Require just a smidge of, yeah, like the top wall would be up here. And I will need to fell many a tree to make this happen.
Plenty. There's good news is that there's plenty of tree around.
Plenty of tree, not much Fjorg. Fjorg is scarce. Fjorg must be carefully rationed. And so also in additional to the usual thing. So the base game, all about you wilderness and so forth. But there's a bunch of things that do exist in the game, but were considered off limits for like the crafting system and things to do in Ye Home. Fortunately, there are modders who have gone about implementing many of the missing things. And they also have a habit as a community of every so often like taking all of the good mods that exist and consolidating them into one, omni mod, and then the next wave of mods get built off of that as a baseline and so forth. So I have the most recent of kind of the main line of those, the sufficiency mod, as that line of succession is called, which includes the possibility of eventually going for primitive metalworking, being able to just get yourself a bloomery, harness small amounts of swamp iron, hammer them into things. And like a full like fabric making system that was less developed in the base game for creating plant cloth and what have you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it shouldn't actually be. It's weirdly enough not really all that hard to weave like bark fiber into clothes. Is
Mm-hmm.
the thing.
It's
That is
time
actually a very.
consuming. It's labor intensive.
It's very time consuming and labor intensive. It is, however, not complicated, and it's like a very simple machine to actually make and do that.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of what's going to hold up your progress out here for those more advanced tasks is those are ones that you'd more see underwent by a household, a family,
Yeah.
or like a folk and an apprentice, rather than a lone woodsman.
Yeah, a lone woodsman would probably spend, the vast majority of their time fishing, and then occasionally building hut, and then sleeping.
Set up a bunch of traps all about the place and check on them on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. However, we have only one Fjorg. And that one Fjorg is like 1/5 of a normal person in terms of ability to do work hours that are in any way physically strenuous.
Mm-hmm. By all means, Fjorg will. Fjorg probably should have died already.
It was only a strange twist of fate that allowed Fjorg to go off on adventure rather than any of the number of hypothetical brothers that may have died back at the old Fjorg home.
Mm-hmm.
Brothers, sisters, cousins, anybody. And as far as I know, the game doesn't support like recruiting of human friends for community. It is always built around just you acting on your own. So everything is going to be bottlenecked by Fjorg's ability to do work. I'm very close to felling this tree. I think I just go for it. Yes. It just needed the one last tap. Shove you over to the other log. Or I'd love to if Fjorg were not a bit incapacitated.
Poor Fjorg.
Trust in Fjorg.
I trust Fjorg implicitly. It's just it
Let
is
me
a
get
shame.
that carved up on our remaining stamina budget. Yes. 2 logs and the one other log that isn't stacking with the rest of them for some reason.
Nice.
And just go ahead and grab the branches again to add to the pile. Lay down and wait for Fjord to catch his breath. I could improve the budget for this by dropping more of the equipment that Fjord is carrying around. However, right now it's mostly directly necessary. He's carrying his axes, his knife, his clothing, and his snacks, and that's about it. I could put down the fishing rod when I'm not fishing. The moment the weather gets warmer, I can have Fjord remove some layers. That'll get him more nimble. Take off the weighted training coat, release his true power. It was quite an adventure to have Fjord collect all 35 of these large rocks. That's quite a bit of mass that Fjord had to shift.
Fjorg does his best.
Yeah, just leave fishing rod over here. This one very small amount of smoked meat, that is what remains of Fjord's starter rations. Which you, on like any character build, get like a couple days worth of preserved food to get yourself started off, and there it goes. It's gone.
A capercaillie, huh? That's a kind of grouse.
Mm-hmm.
Neat.
Just some bird jerky.
Yeah, some good old smoked bird jerky. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
And I'll go ahead and continue trying to split more of this firewood. Not that I'm burning any of this, because this is far too precious, too valuable. These proper, actual logs worth of wood. That'll be for when we have a real fireplace. These many hundreds of blocks of timber that we can get by rendering down log. Alright, the sun is setting. Now the important part of Fjord's day, where he tries to work up the strength to just flop over into the shelter and sleep under a roof. You can do this, Fjord.
This is a weirdly consistent ritual where he just can't make it back to his shelter.
Start the fire. Fjord. Fjord, come on, you've done this several times. Fjord.
He's very tired.
Fjord collapsing on the ground, unable to get a fire started. Fjord.
It's exciting every time.
Fjord, please. There. You did it.
Fjorg, your family is dying. Oh wait, hold on.
Fjord, your family died weeks ago. There we go. Now sleep. Sleep, which is a different button from wait. Fjord's first day on the job, I didn't know that, and so I had him crawl into a shelter and stare at the roof for 8 hours. It took a while to fix that.
Yeah, he just sat there for a very long time.
The day that Fjord did not know how to sleep. Interesting times. However, it's a new day. For Another day, another tree. I suppose I could tree, or I could keep trying for the carpentry. I could try to finish a segment of the house. Sweating considerably is good. There's not much risk of harm from being overwarm. We are in the old Finland.
Yeah.
And yes, the event log does make sure to thank the sheep for being a good sheep. Fjorg is very polite. Or at least Fjorg's narrator is. Alright. Construct. Continue the pot, or you know what? Just make sure we, or no, that it's like these combined penalties here. These only matter for like trying to move around. Fjord can still ramp up to 100% fatigue on just doing a job. So, like, taking off the limiters for carpentry, actually no benefit, unless you were like in a situation where heat management would be important. See how much work Fjord can get done. He managed to go, I think that was an hour and 9 minutes? You did good, Fjord. An hour and 9 for which wrong. Yeah, okay, so rest until not fatigued. So yeah, 1 hour of work for 3 hours of nap. That seems like a good ratio.
Yeah, it seems right.
You're always gonna get a lot done. Remember to grab some fresh twigs. Our roast fish last a couple of days before going bad. This hole stayed unfrozen for quite a while. Spring temperatures finally arriving. Let's have Fjorg attempt to weather. Slowly build up his weather forecasting skill.
Yeah, he's already pretty good at it, so
Keep trying.
yeah.
Yeah, he's 54% weather. More than half weather.
Understands that the sky is real.
Yet his forecast attempt that, yeah, things will be about the same. It's not raining.
That's good, that's good.
Weather will be. The sun will rise.
Weather is real. Is weather real?
Is it though?
Is it? Oh man.
Alright. Fjord can almost fell a tree from 0 fatigue. He's working on it. He will slowly get better at woodcutting and other skills. He won't get better at endurance. His attributes are kind of locked in place from generation. Fjorg will have many adventures on a whole quarter long.
You only need the quarter long. You don't need the whole thing.
And just go ahead and flay the branches off of that log. Ow, the ritual. As the sun sets and the evening arrives. And it's actually a pretty warm night.
That's good.
A lot of red bar. Fjorg might not need the fire. Leave these in the pile anyway, and yeah, sure, attempt sleep. Alright, we're good. We're good. We're good. It's good. All's good here. In fact, let's drop the overcoat. W? No. Alt W? No. Weather. Take off. There. Fjorg is that much lighter now. Too soon for sheep. Let's attempt more building then. Well, we do have an axe, which is the proper tool for doing this. Our axe is terrible, so it isn't helping much. It's more letting Fjorg try it all. That's a good block of progress. That was like a good 6th of bar. Maybe 5th. Hard to say. Apparently, while laying there for hours, Fjorg was moving at a kilometer per hour.
Okay.
Fjorg?
Interesting.
Fjorg, that's not how sleep works.
Fjorg does what Fjorg wants.
Basically, if we could get 2 milk-producing animals, we'd have kind of free meals. We'd have most of survival.
Iron Age? Finland?
Yes.
Hmm.
Wherein the Iron Age starts much earlier than a lot of people think of it as starting.
Yeah.
Where also, so, like, it's one of those history concepts that was coined and was very wrong at the time it was first coined and has then been, like, salvaged into being scientifically useful.
Yeah.
If you talk about anything in terms of a material age, it is quite literally and directly what materials were being used by this people at this time. The moment iron arrives somewhere, it's the Iron Age. You're making things out of iron, you done it. Good. Welcome. Which means there are many different Iron Ages depending on where you're talking about. And a lot of them start very early.
I was actually just looking up to see if the aurochs was still around, and it certainly was, and also was endemic in Finland a little bit, I think. Maybe?
There were a lot of places that didn't have a Bronze Age. They just skipped it, because bronze is a kind of weird temperamental metal. It's an alloy instead of just being a metal. Like the Mediterranean Bronze Age relied a lot on imported tin.
Yeah. There was actually like where that tin came from was actually a very closely guarded secret. In fact,
Fjorg has nearly finished corner of house.
good work, Fjorg.
It's so near.
And then you only have to do that 9 times.
9 more times, at least, to create
Yeah.
the smallest possible hut. Hopefully Fjorg gets a lot better at construction soon. Or he might not have a house by winter. Rest until clear. Alright. Fjorg, I believe that after like a full week you can finish this inaugural fragment of this job. You got this, Fjorg. Nailed it. Behold.
At last.
Wood. It begins. Once Fjorg manages to complete any amount of hut, he will become extremely powerful. Proper wooden building gives a whole lot of insulation, storage, a proper fireplace with like rocks that heat up. You know, something you can bake in. Something you can dry food over. Review. Fjorg is alone because his family's dead. His village was burned by bandits, as normal. Alright, Fjorg is nearly finished eating his last fish. Let's go get additional fish. Or, The ice is getting thin because spring. Can we fish from the shore? Nope, shore is still terrible to fish from. This is a problem. Fjorg might be doomed. He is cut off from the lake.
Uh-oh.
Without, like, a raft. A raft or a canoe would be the thing to do after the lake finishes thawing out. Fjorg needs another food source.
It's time for Fjorg to go hunting.
It might be time for Fjorg to go hunting, or at least trapping. I haven't seen many signs of other animals around here. We're in kind of swampland adjacent to lake. Ground is mostly covered in moss. Some trees. Think about traps. Appropriate for a game of complexity, there is extensive documentation, within and without.
Right.
Another thought is if we have anything that would be of use in trade. Because, additionally, let me just remember by looking up, let's see, yeah, map of the area. Go ahead and look at our greater knowledge of, so zooming very far out, we have some awareness of just vaguely where the various tribes live. Over here in blue is Islander territory where Fjorg is from. Our immediate neighbors, the Drick. Then the various other groups who all have their own traits, their own gimmicks, their own things they focus on. And way the hell over here in purple are those fuckers. This is the Rude tribe who mostly antagonizes and raids everyone else.
No one likes them.
And then way the hell in here, if we zoom in, this bit that's actually detailed here, this is where Fjorg is actually seen and gone. Fjorg's adventure began over there by that other triangle. It was the first attempt Fjorg had made to build shelter. Since leaving there, he encountered 2 other live humans
Yes, one
at those 2
was a
village points.
friendly swampman of some kind.
Helpful old men who told Fjorg that this lake was here.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I could visit one of them and try to buy things of use. Not right now, as it is the evening. In the morning, I could say try to sell my arrows. I was able to make this spool and comb. At some point I might want to attempt to collect wool from sheep. I don't know, since it's a very warm day, I could just try the ice. Just lay down. Okay, let's not try the ice. The ice is very not accommodating. Fjorg, start the fire.
Fjorg, you need to.
Fjorg will be okay.
Stay
Lake is off limits now. Lake is lava.
Lake has betrayed us.
Lake, I thought we were friends. I gave you many fish. Lake spirits, why have you done this?
How have you betrayed me?
Yeah, it stopped the sweating and replaced it with shivering. This is less than good.
That's really cold.
Mm-hmm. We should find some busy work to do next to the fire. Grab some twigs. Alright, we are recovering from that incident. Fjorg is gonna want to create some manner of boat. So let's see our transport options. Get raft. Cesta. Or a bark canoe. Where making the bark canoe is actually fairly elaborate. Although 20 pounds of birch bark might not be too hard to harvest. There are a couple of birch tree around. The main thing is the tying equipment. We don't have rope. We'd need to get rope or rope equivalent.
Could you get rope by weaving it out of wool? I think you can make a wool rope.
Maybe. Maybe you or I could, but could Fjorg?
Could Fjorg?
That's the question.
That is a good question, yeah.
Alright, there we go. So, bark collecting is over here. Since there was bark collecting in the base game, but oddly enough not of birch, there were no birch-related products. So that has to be off in its own menu, as provided by the mod. Although, can I also get... can get some clothing out of birch bark. Alright, we've attained an amount of terrible birch bark. A whole 1 pound out of the 20 needed for a canoe. Hmm.
It's a pretty good amount.
It's a start.
Yeah. Could be worse.
Getting a little bit. Actually, you know what? Can I do this many times off a single tree? Yes. And then Fjorg collapses from the exhaustion of peeling a bark from a tree. This is Fjorg's life. This is how he lived.
It's very normal. Yeah.
Crawl over here, put the bark in the pile with the rest. Down fishing rod. So the other consideration, the bark will find use regardless, so that was still time well spent. So what are the material costs on my other kinds of boat? Or wait, no, that's not. That's not a ship. That's a pole for directing the boat after it's created. Yeah, paddle just needs a board, so we can get that easily out of our existing adjacent lumber. What does a raft cost? 3 tree trunks, 3 ropes, and a cutting tool. Well, use of a cutting tool. So I have those logs right away. Do logs substitute 1 for tree trunks? Going to be that finicky? Probably not. It's very flexible about a lot of materials. Yeah, those count. So I could take those logs down to the river. I just need something to tie them together with.
Figure out how to weave something real quick style.
Wanted to make 3 of cord. Cord is made of cloth, which I don't have, or... Wait, could I fashion cords out of my spare clothing? Could I make rope out of my dead father's pants and use that to build a raft?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Alright, so I can also make cord out of yarn, so if I figure out how to shear sheep, I can have rope from that.
All right, that's good news.
Looking over our options here, so tailoring. So we have 2 of the 4 devices needed to do textile work in general. Yeah, that's about working. Plant fiber, which we don't have any around. At least none visible and growing yet. Oh, what's primitive cord made of? Soaked branches. Alright, that I can probably do.
You can figure that out. Soaked branches? That's nothing.
Yeah, let me just grab some branches. Well, Fjorg now barely conscious after that effort, but take
I
these
did grab some.
branches, just put them over here. Or wait, let me drag them closer to the lake. Where do I go to soak these branches? Okay, the branches should be ready tomorrow. Of which, well, actually, just to confirm here, how many did I need per primitive cord? Yeah, one per. So tomorrow we will make those into binders, and then shove the logs over here, and raft will begin. Fjorg of the sea. Quickly have a drink before it goes off. Okay, morning again. Soaked branches aren't done yet. I may as well make more of those, though, if that's my earliest access to rope. Or wait. Ability, yeah, soak branch. Oh, okay, that was... Where did I put the rest of those branches? Sworn I had more. Yeah, I got 11 of these sitting around. There we go. And sheep provides us a good fallback for nutrition. We have some basic ration available. Go ahead and shove 3 of these logs toward the beach. You got this, Fjorg. And then let's see, I'm also going to need paddle I need a board. Alright, so let's plank that remaining log there. There we go. One Fjorg of work later, we have several boards. 12 inferior, 7 poor. Excellent. Oh, and one just regular, proper board. Good. So we'll make that into our ore. And none of those branches are done soaking yet. At least we have our paddle. Slowly, the ingredients for a raft are assembling. Oh, and the lake has thawed out right now. No more ice. Now, does that mean shore fishing has become any good? No. This is a terrible fishing spot still. Although, I could step into the water in April. That remains unwise. We won't do that. The water is
cold,
only
yes.
recently not solid. Alright, as long as the cord is ready by morning, then we can build the raft and resume fishing. That will be more powerful at fishing, since the raft is a vehicle. It can carry many materials.
Nice.
All kinds of fish. Sleep well, Fjorg. Okay, some of the branches are ready. Make that cord. We've done it. A decent raft.
Nice. Good work.
Good work, Fjorg. Now, how do I use raft? Drop raft. Alright, there's raft. It exists. Our primitive boat. Need to determine how to place it into water properly so that it doesn't, like, cease to exist or something. Also, a quick tactic: if you're well nutritioned, you can combat hunger by just drinking more liquid.
Mm-hmm. You're just filling up that belly is all really there.
Just need to distract those senses. Fjorg has good nutrition somewhere. Alright, just gonna quickly slide over to the wiki and confirm how this functions. Equipped either a paddle or cesta. A shovel works as well for an improvised drive. With one of these equipped, step onto the raft and move into a water square. Should be on a land square when you first step into it. Okay. And then on return, we have to land it on an empty tile. Raft can carry up to 16,000 pounds of
Whoa.
material. It's a powerful
Dang.
raft. Alright, so grab my ore, rod, and equip paddle. We're doing it. It's happening. Fjorg of the sea. The true adventure begins. Commence active fishing.
Nice.
Alright, so having succeeded at cat, well, have to write full process here. Pick up the fish that we have caught. Do not attempt to pick up the raft you are standing on. That will not work.
Maybe it won't work for you.
Now, let us be thankful by throwing back one of the tiny garbage fish. You feel comfortable. Those feedback messages are actually meaningful. If you try to perform too many sacrifices in a short span of time, they stop having effect, and it'll let you know, like, that felt pointless. Last, Fjorg is a man of the sea.
The goal the whole time.
The sea that is that lake.
Mm-hmm. It's a sea.
It's a sea to Fjorg. He's never seen the truly large water.
Who has even, right?
Grab a bunch of kindling. Boat operation also evidently not terribly strenuous compared to carpentry and lumber.
Well, yeah, those are both. Whoa, those are real hard.
There we go. Fjorg's capabilities are now well explained. Among his own people, among his intended role of boat shover, he isn't hindered at all.
Yeah, as a boatman. Good old Fjorg boatman over there.
I will shove
That's
a
his-
couple of these firewood.
That's his element.
And let's light this. Fjorg, please get better at starting fires.
It's really hard, though.
Fjorg, please. We will roast these fish. The cooking process of just put it near heat and wait All these fancier kinds of food will require greater technology. Fjorg has heard salt described, but never seen it for himself. Oh yeah, how much fire do we got here? Several hours of fire. Good. That will suffice for meal making. There. Fjorg has earned a snack. Boards are one of the things that people would rate as a currency if it weren't so heavy. There's like when you do conduct trade with other people, it's all bartering and vague, intuitive valuations, which under the hood are numeric evaluations. So there's like agreed upon things that are good currency items, mostly arrows. Arrows are very lightweight and numerous and compressible. So to make those, we'll need feathers. And Fjorg has yet to see a bird. He has eaten birds, but he did not witness their capture.
Yeah.
You cannot accidentally start a fire underneath yourself. Fire must be started adjacent. And you can't walk into the fire, it will stop you. Fire will spread if it's in the open and you put flammable things next to it. Hence the isolation of the woodpile. Now with all that done, I guess we kill a tree? The crisis is resolved. Fjord's food supply exists now and will be reliable for the rest of the year. So long as there are fish in lake.
And Fjorg is just one Fjorg. Fjorg can't eat an entire fish. Well, sorry. Fjorg can eat an entire fish. Fjorg can't eat an entire lake.
Fjorg, yes. Fjorg has proven capable of eating individual fish. But never a whole lake's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the roast is done. Now I just need to recover enough fatigue to crawl over there and retrieve it before it burns. Come on, Fjorg. This is also a part of Fjorg's ordinary life. There. Now you may eat. Down that entire fish. It's terrible, but it's food. Fjorg heavily burdened by, picking up many pounds of fish.
Mm-hmm.
Could take this and shove it into the shelter for storage instead of actually carrying it around. If you really need a fire to go, you can just take an entire log and set it alight and it'll burn for more than a day. I think the fuel economy on that is a bit worse than if you properly split it up into chunks and deal it out over time.
Probably.
Probably. You feel unity with the world. Fjorg has learned to greet the supernatural guardians.
Nice. At last, he understands.
Right, that's general ritual information. Not the specifics of what we have found. Where I guess we can't use it here because we already live here. For better or worse, Fjorg is already known to the local spirits. They are acquainted with Boat Idiot and his adventures.
Oh, there he goes trying to do boating stuff again.
There he goes cutting another tree, that Fjorg.
Oh, Fjorg.
Also, it's something I suppose I've not mentioned during the stream that you can probably maybe have realized from looking at it. This is a roguelike with tank controls as its default scheme.
Yeah.
Fjorg is a facing is important. So your default control scheme on the number pad is 8 to step forward, 2 to step back, 4 and 6 to rotate, and then the corner buttons 7, 9, 1, and 3 for different amounts of rotation. It is weird to hear about, but then flows pretty well once you're accustomed to it.
I bet, yeah, it doesn't sound that bad.
Because it means you do all of your movement while keeping your hand in the same spot. You can just leave 3 fingers on 3 buttons and have most of your controls. I want to get this young spruce out of the way. It is sitting where the next corner of Fjorg's house goes. Young trees are much easier to cut down than full trees. These are saplings. These are the difference between you use this to build a house and you use this as an axe handle sort of deal. These are much smaller. Like 3 units of this, where you can see we got 5 of wood out of 1 sapling. 3 of those are the skeleton of Fjord's shelter. Go ahead and shove these over to the material zone. Okay, sheep, please move before I do this, since all animals and vehicles can be loaded with stuff, and you do so by shoving the stuff at the relevant recipient. So if I had shoved those logs while sheep was standing there, Fjorg would try to attach a bunch of lumber to the sheep, who would then do its best to carry this pile of wood. Sheep is basically ox. It's just fuzzy ox.
Yeah, yeah. They're the same.
And so the house building process as well, once we get back to progressing that at all. Quickly dive into buildings here. Go for full-on wood building. See our diagram there of the fundamental components. What we'll do is you build walls, and once you have at least 3 constructed things adjacent to a tile, you can put down a ceiling and floor on that tile, which then creates some interior space. So the overall house will be 16 wall and 9 floor, and then, or rather 15 wall and a door, then 9 floor, and then the various internals. The bed, a table, a bench, fireplace. Oh, we can also put wall with window.
Ooh.
In case Fjord would like a window. But yeah, so each of these 6 lumber, and then interior sections are less expensive than outer walls. They only take like some slim branches. Fireplace costs a shitload of rocks, which is what this is for. 35 stone to make a proper Finland grade fireplace. In time, Fjord's house will be a sauna. One of the greatest arguments for going out and getting a crafting mod over the base game is that in the base game, sauna scoops are an item that you can't make on your own. If you want one, you have to go steal it from a village.
Wait, the sauna scoop, as in just
Yeah, the spoon to throw water on the rocks to get your steam on. You can't figure out how to make one on your own. You have to buy or rob it from the villages, because every village will have a sauna or 2 as proper, but a baseline vanilla Fjorg would not understand this. Confused and frightened by such technology. Let me sort of eyeball out here from our immediately available woods. We need a total of like 96 log for the house, for the entire extended Fjorg home.
For full Fjorkheim.
So we will need many a large tree, like all of what we can see here and then a bit more. We'd better hope that Fjorg becomes much better at timbercraft. He's trying to learn, but felling trees is not something that his people are especially good at. Go ahead and do another weather report. Since so, your progression system is all just learn by doing. Skills will attempt to improve the more often you use them. So we have to hope that Fjorg gets better at lumbering and or gets his hands on a better axe. He has axes, but they are of terrible quality.
They're just real bad axes.
Yes. They were his father's axes. If they were better axes, maybe he could have defeated the bandits.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and make more of these soaked branches into cord. Since there's a bunch of things that want rope, and so having a rope equivalent, even a terrible one, is going to be alright. it would be fair to compare this to other survival crafting games that are out there, of which like more accessible and commercially known ones would be things like Don't Starve. I would put this, oddly enough, as in a bizarro way more accessible because it gets more grognardy about how surviving works and does so like in your favor. Like the hunger system is such that it takes a very long time to actually starve to death. Over this stream, Fjorg has remained nourished and non-hungry, but there's layers to which he would eventually die of not enough food or of poor variety of food. He would have to become hungry and then start to accumulate starvation and run himself out of nutrition, and then eventually would actually die of all of these things building up over the course of days, weeks, potentially months. It takes a very long time for a person to die of just sheer food deprivation, as long as they also have water.
Yeah.
Of which water is very easy to get.
Your body contains many, many fats, and it will devour itself if it has to. It will. That's just a fact about human beings in general.
And man, the temperature has really spiked up. Spring is here. In fact, yeah, the display is just calling this summer now. We have entered the warm. Alright. Time to shed some excess weight here. Much of Fjord's current carrying capacity is winter clothing. Let's just, yeah, lighten up. Fjorg of the Wild. Now we're ready for lumber work. Time to fell every tree. Now that we've removed 12 pounds of clothing, which for Fjorg is like 200 pounds of clothing.
Yeah.
I don't have to wait for that chanting to finish before moving on, but I do, out of respect for the spirits.
You want to respect the... Why would you even ask permission if you were going to wait, right? You weren't going to wait, right?
Fjorg is lively and sweaty and in his element. At last, Fjorg is alive.
It's been so long.
Alright, let's see how much of an influence all that clothing had on his ability to do work. Because that seemed like a much less expensive felling of a tree than previously. Is Fjorg, in fact, much more nimble now that I have stripped off his winter layers? Go grab my other fish. Yeah, Fjorg seems to be doing much better with the limiter off. The other mystery explained that Fjorg is immobilized by his insulative wrappings. Much more active during the warm seasons when this strange, noodly Spider-Man can writhe about. A proper creature of the forest. Alright, gonna burn off my fatigue. Then we're actually gonna move these logs a little bit up to indicate where I want the other corner to be. Yeah, just to pace it out here. Corner goes here, where I'm standing right now. So just gonna put the logs over there. And we'll let everything accumulate in its own time. We're also gonna get more daylight hours as things warm up.
Oh yeah. Up in Finland, you're probably gonna get a lot of them now.
Gonna be huge variance between summer and winter light times. I'm not sure how much the game worries about like diminishing returns from trying to repeatedly scavenge off one tree. Whether it'll eventually tell you to cut it out because you're taking too many branches, you're out of branches.
Not sure.
Should be fine. We have many branch. But also maybe just the shelter on its own will provide enough insulation for sleep. We can find out. In fact, Fjorg, what do you think of the weather? Now that you've got all of your sensory nerves exposed to the air. That will be slightly cold, raining a little. Tomorrow, temperature about the same with mild rain. So speaks Fjorg. The daily routine that Fjorg has settled into here also is something that initiated pretty quickly since start of game. The only early maneuvers that were skipped over by picking up on this save file was finding a good initial campsite, throwing together the shelter, and then, you know, making sure you have that initial scramble of heat and some food. You also, as part of your startup options, get to decide which season you'd like to open in. So this is a spring start, where at the very start, things are still a little cold and dangerous, but you have then the advantage of the most time to prepare for the next winter. Whereas you could start in, say, summer, and have things warm and, you know, lively off the bat, but have fewer months of work to put in, or in fall, for danger mode. Start with winter, right around the corner. Alright, and Fjorg was able to sleep shirtless and remain rather warm in the smaller hours. Spring is here.
Now you're Finning correctly. Sleeping in the like early spring, shirtless.
We are one with the forest. Start my day by asking permission to fell a tree.
Ah, nice.
Is that good? Is that the ritual spirits? That is a larger number than Fjorg understands.
52? That's like more trees than is around.
More trees than is around, or more branches than are on one tree. That's a lot. Is that how many fish are in the lake?
52? That's a lot of fish. I don't know.
That'd be a lot of fish.
Yeah, is there more than that?
Are there more fish than that in the world?
There might be. There's at least 30 fish, though, right? At least 30?
At least 30 fish. Every fisherman
Yeah.
knows that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah, Fjorg was just able to fell a tree with only half fatigue. Things are looking up. Fjorg has taken off the limiters. He has attained his true power. Finally, Fjorg is alive. Fjorg could cut like 2 trees before passing out. That's a lot of trees.
Yeah. That's more trees than is normal.
Wake up in the morning, say your prayers, eat an entire roast fish, and cut down 2 trees. Such is life in the UnReal world. Almost 2 trees, just shy of 2 trees. He's working on it. Needs a bit of a breather. Sheep isn't ready yet. Sheep also needs a moment to get ready for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, will that affect recovery time as well? How many hours of laying down does Fjorg need to clear his fatigue? Fjorg has sighted a bird.
Whoa! What? Animals? Those are real?
There is life here.
Holy shit.
There is agriculture in the game and in this period of time that we can invest in. It's a very powerful source of food, but one that is slow burning, requires wind-up.
Yeah, it's also something that, like... Man.
Yeah, Fjorg's real bad at it. Fjorg does not garden. Blake is garden. What are vegetables if not some sort of awful land fish? Fjorg has heard of bread and it frightens him. Alright, let me... The only weapon I have on me at the moment is my knife, so I'm gonna go try to knife this bird. Come here. Come here. Bird. Damn it. Right, they have wings.
Birds.
Birds are too quick for Fjorg.
Weird.
Well, let's get back to this tree. Alright, is sheep ready now? Yes. Good. Quaff that. Fjorg has a bow. He is... He is subpar at it. About as good with it as he is at any other weapon. Fjorg is best at dodging and punching and axe wielding. Sadly, punching is really terrible in this. That was the greatest disappointment to find while reading up on rules. The way the mechanics work means that a bare fist is basically harmless. You can barely bruise people through clothing with a punch. no matter how good you are at it.
Unfortunate.
Something you could probably fix by just modding in a zero-weight weapon of some sort.
Probably, yeah.
Just a closed fist. Or zero-cost weapon. You can create an arbitrary amount of this worthless, vague, mystical concept of a punch, a stance, a boot.
A good punch, though. Like... Not just
We are
any
a
punch.
bit cold now, but that's probably by virtue of rain. Yeah, rain might merit putting a shirt back on.
Maybe.
Yeah, so I suppose, yeah, being here with Fjorg, I can't show you the entirety of the world map it generated, but I could just briefly put Fjorg away. Let's just save Fjorg for a moment. And if I were to just quickly create a fresh character... If I were to create Fjorg... Yeah, there we go, that's a Fjorg. Fjorg of Drickelelian. I will say wrong every Finnish word on every occasion. Who has excellent endurance, so that would probably also be a good stat line to start from for a character.
Probably, yeah.
Better than Fjorg in most respects? Yes, I think so. Animal sacrifice, safety of the night. Alright. Skill spread, where what you do is your baselines are determined by whatever tribe you've started from, and then you get to add... Well, you have a net of 5 points you can apply. You can make any skill 1 tick higher, or 2... Or, no, that's a different mode where you can strip points out of other skills. Yeah, in basic creation, you can just choose 5 skills to add a smidge to. Yeah, I believe she is from, like, one of the more settled, yeah, good at building, good at cookery, good at agriculture. I think she's from the folks who have, like, cities, who have more, you know, developed large settlements and engage in active trade with the outside world.
Oh.
Give her a spot of that. Yeah, like, absolutely no tracking skill. Yeah, she is a city gal who is far more sturdy than Woodland Fjorg.
Oh, Woodfjorg had help. You know, when he was growing up.
Mm-hmm. Not going to carry on with this character, just doing this to get to map generation here.
Yeah.
So, when you create a map, it'll be vaguely this shape. But, you know, the particulars are randomized. And you can see this little square here. That's about how much area Fjorg has traveled to in his lifetime. That we saw highlighted. Like, yeah, if I put on the culture spread here, you can see, so it will assign relative positions of all the tribes via vague degrees of sense. Like, Fjorg's entire life has happened in about yay big area. Whereas here is how much map it gives you to potentially explore and live on. It's a lot of map. And so, like, the north edge there is more ice and permafrost and very little woodland. Your folks who live in tents and primarily hunt things. All the way to down on the more south shore where Fjorg has been living, where there's plenty of tree and swamp and field you could potentially build on. And you can see there's a shitload of lake country in the middle. Many rivers connecting it all. All of Finland geography and biomes is represented across eMap. Let's just go ahead and assign Fjorg start location. And given how good that stat spread is, I'll probably take Fjorg for a spin at some point.
Yeah, sounds good.
Seems pretty feasible. So we'll just assign her a start by this lake. Enter and play world. Right, so you have as well, past your initial stat build, you have starting scenarios you can choose from basic, just you in the middle of the wilderness, to various permutations, like start near a town, start as an escaped slave who has very little stuff on your body and is maybe being pursued by your former captors. A hunting trip gone long, a bear just killed your father, and it's still there, please help. Probably just wolves trying to fight a bear with starting character. I think that would just be, it ends. Good luck, but if you manage to defeat it, hey, that's meat.
That's real good eating.
Find yourself near the remains of 2 unfinished cottages. Would you like to start wounded? Some of these are outright just hard mode challenge starts. There's a hole in you, half your blood is missing. And then some of these are more positive easy modes. Hey, would you like trapping equipment? There it is. Would you like more fishing gear? There it is. Someone set up a trap fence for you when you found it. Free traps. Free meat.
Nice.
Abandoned camp. Probably I'll take farm tools for her. She seemed good at farm. She'd be a file I would attempt to farm on. You're getting mugged. Fight some crime. That's your start. And yeah, this is what Fjorg took. Not all who wander are lost. You have a 4-legged friend, because everyone else you love is dead. Well, it's agriculture. Where not all of these have your surprise, such as life, grim twist. Farm start is just, yep, farm. You farm. You go farm 'em.
Oh, here I go farming again.
And then you have either, plain start, or you can opt into quest chain for tutorial and quest chain for some fancy shenanigans. Tutorial chain gives you a bunch of free stuff aside doing it, so it's very recommended for if you're just starting off and want a better baseline. Like, you'll get a free fishing rod out of this, and that's a really good deal. That's fish. Just free fish for you. Get your damn fish.
You have to do the fishing yourself, but it's free fish.
Just the spirits will grant you a free rod.
Free fish for you, Fjorg. Fjorg.
So we will get Fjorg loaded up there. Oh, I suppose something I also didn't demonstrate at all with Fjorg yet. So there's 2 layers to the map. Where we've started out here with Fjorg on like the far out, zoomed out map. The overland travel map. Where each square on this represents a fair amount of distance. Yeah, there's a scale there at the bottom. Each tile here is 100 meters of Finland. So we have vaguely, yep, this is wood swamp. And there's regular swamp, and there's some ice that is the lake we started next to. And then from there, you can zoom in, and then here's the specific tiles. Where we find our snow and our individual trees. And so there's some tasks that you can do from the big map for convenience rather than needing to, tediously work it out square by square. You get macro versions of your skills for like tracking and planning and so forth. And for some things it can be helpful to set yourself up so that some of the things you're doing are like a couple of big squares away from other things that you're doing. So you can like unload them and leave them in background mode. Anyway, Fjorg will get to experience her life in her world some other time. She'll get started off camera. She has many seeds and a proper shovel, not a trash shovel like Fjorg has. We'll see how she do. For now, we return to Fjorg Adventure. So it is noon. Fjorg is cold. And still has a bit of that one fish left. Question of, do I want to, like, chill out by a fire for a second or just hit the lake immediately?
Bit cold, maybe. We do have... He's pretty chilly, a bit.
Where did I put my ore? Left my ore somewhere. Am I still carrying it? Yes. Still carrying it and the fishing rod. Drop one of those. Let's put on some layers. There, that should do. Just check the old armor profile here. Yeah, now we're insulated again.
Oh, good. That's good.
Alright.
You got a real weakness in your knees, though.
Yes, Fjorg does not have well-insulated legs right now. An entire trout.
That's a lot of fish.
Also, yeah, there we go. All the exertion while out here in full gear. We can still hear that bird. It's around here somewhere. My rival, this bird. Okay, additional fish have occurred. Ed, pick these up. Quickly give thanks. And then row to shore. Bird, please stop interrupting me. Someday I will destroy you, bird. Fjorg. Fjorg, come on. Don't pass out yet. You got fish to make. Gotta roast this trout, Fjorg. Okay, Fjorg is nearly unconscious. Keep the hood on? struggle to remain awake long enough to collect these fish before they burn. Okay, the bream is ready. And I think there's some kind of longer event log that you can use to keep track of things for scheduling. Oh, we could throw. Maybe that's what will kill the bird.
Oh, yeah.
Got plenty of rocks. Just throw a rock at him.
Rock could do it.
Quest Journal, which is for if you actually get jobs from other people. Could view full message log. The thousands of messages which have occurred. Hopefully some more kinds of plant emerge from the nearby swamp ground. It'd be nice to have some wild plants to skim off of. Come on, Fjorg, just stay awake. However long it takes to roast a trout. Okay, Fjorg passed out, and the fish is fine. Okay, good. It's just a little damp. That's fine. We're fine. It's a good morning. Your thirst is extinguished. It's a powerful word for having a beverage.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, snap into that. Whereas also if you like your character is bad at cooking, they won't be able to assess whether or not food turned out well until you've tasted it, and then you'll know. Sometimes roast fish is discovered to be bland fish or rotting fish.
If we're being real proper though, that's basically how a skilled chef does it too. There's the middle ground where you think you do it right every time. It's like you start never being able to know until you taste it. Then you got that middle ground where you can probably do it, and then you got the high end again where you don't know until you taste it again.
Alright, lumber work resumes. Yeah, there we go. That definitely confirms that more clothing is impacting our fatigue economy elsewhere. Because I'm wearing, like, just slightly more than shirtless Fjorg. I could probably leave the bowl sitting on the ground and just drink from it as needed. Put that under the shelter. Because that's like a sizable bowl. That's not like a cereal bowl. That's a hefty serving bowl utility. It's not yet a bucket or basin.
Mm-hmm. But it aspires to be one day.
Yes. It's back. Grab one rock. Come here, Grouse. Where'd you go? Fjorg, do you know how to track a grouse?
He says he knows how to track a grouse. But
Fjorg can see no tracks. I can hear you, bird. There. There it is. And too tired from lumber work to... Okay, you win this round, bird.
Tulen suuta sulkemaan panun päätä painamaan diskoa vilua vettä paikoille pallaan ehille tulen tulki polttamille panun ehkipastamille.
Throw those back on. We will at time, at some point, discover the equilibrium. Precise level of clothing which permits a balance between not frostbiting ourselves.
we'll figure out how to balance our humors properly.
Yes. Need to go capture some wild leeches.
Mm-hmm.
Will, of course, do no such thing. Fjorg is no doctor. He never learned those mysteries.
Right.
Fjorg will not meddle in strange magics. When the forest tells him how to use leeches, then he will do medicine. It's right there.
The bird.
Bird, where did you go? Bird. Bird, how dare you? In the time it took Fjorg to prepare to throw rock. Someday I will destroy that grouse. Need another rock. Or to go retrieve the original rock. Did it land anywhere? Is my rock gone? Have I lost one of my many rocks? It's fine. Rocks happen. Rocks are all around us. Fjord wakes in the middle of the night. Having seen something move. I know you're out there, bird.
I understand this, like, unbelievable desire to slay that bird. It's just standard bird.
It looks like there's no throwing skill. What governs throwing? Looks like it's a matter of your skill with whatever you're throwing, determining how well you can throw it. Because the only mention I can see is of suggestion of training in use of spear by repeatedly throwing your spear at a wall.
Understandable.
Well, regardless, Fjorg rested and is warm, so I guess we carve up more trees. since that is now the second corner's worth of logs. I'm thinking the door to Fjorg home will be east-facing, to look at the lake. I wonder if this hill is going to get in the way, this lump. We'll be allowed to just put wall from there to there. Not, there might be a dent in the corner. Same material cost either way, I'll just lose a tile of space. Okay, it begins. The next segment of the Fjorg wall. Gotta remember to routinely predict weather, since it costs basically nothing, and eventually Fjorg will get better at it. And it's just good to know.
Yeah. Fjorg will eventually learn how weather do, and therefore he'll become invincible.
It's back. My rival. It's gonna keep circling around, like, it lives here. It's gonna be in the area unless I trap it or slay it. You have my bow. Gonna go about my ordinary Fjorgen day. Although, so also let me just, yes, there is dynamic zoom. There's some degree of zoom. We were as close to Fjorg as possible all throughout the session so far, but you can look a bit further. You can't hide forever, Gross. I will destroy you. Make sure to do it over land, though. I don't want to waste the meat. Bird is not proper tribute to the lake. Lake wants fish.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
You can't just throw a bird in there. That's not gonna work.
Alright, after two Fjorg, 2 fatigue bars, we're like a quarter done this. And more like 1 2/3 fatigue bars. Now that it's warm, Fjord can get some pretty decent work economy in. One of the main things I haven't decided about development yet is where I'm going to store sheep once house exists. Sheep hasn't required any maintenance. It seems to be self-sufficient. Which makes sense when it's out here just wandering around on the moss. Question whether it would have problems from being kept inside. I need to, well, I could just build like a fenced yard of some sort. It dropped a feather.
Interesting.
You'll get that. What else? So during like the collection of rocks, Fjorg has been out to the other side of the lake. We're at the end of this lake. Fjorg has been around to the opposite shore. At this scale, it's about like 2.5 screens wide. And so like you can see the biome type listed up there in the top. Each time you've seen that change corresponds to us crossing the boundary between one like big wilderness tile and another. Like on this line here. From here over, that's a lake tile on the big map. From here over, it's a swamp tile. Very important to like build your important things in what is considered a land tile. That you can overland travel in and out of it conveniently. Alright, Fjorg. Time to build. This bird will not distract me. And he passed out.
Such is life in Fjorg.
That is how Fjorg do. What day is it?
Good question.
How long did that nap take? Okay, sheep is still empty, so it is probably the same day. Fjorg was up very early, so understandable that he is tired early. This day just sort of started at midnight. sheep is a very powerful timepiece. Go ahead and put this feather over here. Let's see, while I'm over here, let me just go ahead and review some, try to find where sheep work would be classified on this list. Not weaving, that's all plant related, or at least assuming you already have thread related. Utility articles. I could create a larger wood container. That'd be of use. That is a task. I have a couple of unsplit wood cube here. Or, no, this is more elaborate. Alright, we need quite a bit. This is much more advanced than a mere bowl. Boards, even. Wow. And an active fire. We could work toward that. Are there any pine nearby? Go looking for tar. Got alder. We have endless spruce. Is spruce close enough? No, it is not.
You ask a woodmaster if spruce is close enough, and they will be incredibly disappointed with you.
Fjorg is no master of wood. Fjorg is perhaps only now realizing that there's more than one kind of tree.
Thought all of it was birch and spruce, and that was it.
Yeah, we got birch, alder, spruce, no pine. It is a spruce mire. They wouldn't call it that if it weren't mostly spruce.
Mm-hmm. Not all wood is the same.
Woods are very different. Maybe there's 52 kinds of wood.
Whoa. That's way too many times. No way. No way. Look at all these trees and how they're all the same. There's no way that there's 52 kinds of wood. Where would they store all of it?
But are they the same?
But wait, hold on.
But each tree has more than one kind of wood in it.
Oh, whoa. Hold on a second. This feels like it's way too complicated for me.
Everything bark related. It wouldn't be in mining. This is for swamp ore and breaking rocks. Smithing, likewise. That's when we have metal, hammering metal. Storing then? No. That's for finished clothing. Tools. Or maybe it's apply comb to sheep.
Are you sure we can't mine the sheep?
Don't think we mine the sheep. That seems like the wrong verb.
Seems like, however.
Like, am I intuiting right that heckling combs are for sheeping? Why? We produce a fancy set. Is that a musical instrument I've created then? What is? Apply spool and the rain ceases. What? Fjorg.
What have you done?
What have you done?
Fjorg, how dare you?
Fjorg, I thought I taught you better. Stay away from the magics, Fjorg. Alright, apparently the comb is part of fiber work, like preparing things for to be spun. Put those down. I know what all the metalworking related things are. That's our smelter and our making the anvil and then assembling the anvil into a workstation. Do I just knife at the sheep?
Hold on, no, that implies to me that you'd be,
How
attempting
do
to
I-
harm sheep.
But how do I correctly knife? How knife sheep? But gentle. How wool from sheep? This will be difficult to find since actually shearing the sheep peacefully is part of the mod rather than part of the base game.
Oh,
So like the regular documentation you can find about it, it just informs you of how much sheep meat and sheep skin you could get. Which is classed as a fur. Maybe it's something they put under one of the vanilla skills? Yeah, agriculture is all plant related. Building, yeah, we've seen that a couple times. That's all architecture stuff. Cooking has nothing to do with peaceful sheep handling. Herb lore? Well, we don't have anything to... Yeah, that's for identifying. Sheep is not an herb, we know that much.
do we
Fishing
know that much?
is all for fishing. Is? Hide working. No, this is for removal of skin, cleaning of skin, converting of fur into leather.
Is sheep, in fact...
What if
is
sheep's a
sheep, in fact,
plant?
an herb? Yeah.
Is that why there's such difficulty involved?
Let me tell you about the vegetable lamb of Tartary.
Ah, yes. The Lamb of the East.
Mm-hmm. The tree that grows sheep as fruit.
Yes. But is sheep a fruit or a vegetable? Trapping has nothing to do with that. Tracking, no. Weather lore, we know wouldn't do that. Intuiting slum rain tomorrow. That doesn't help us solve this sheep problem. Can I carpentry up a better sheeping tool? Is that what's wrong?
Can I carpentry up a better sheep?
Is sheep a kind of wood?
There we go. Now we're getting somewhere.
Also, for whatever reason, metalworking was shoved under carpentry as an overhead category. So building our house will build up the practical skills necessary to eventually, except construction and carpentry are different things. Yeah, well. Someday Fjorg will make iron. Fjorg will try to make iron.
Yeah, the more you chop down trees, the better he becomes at it.
What if I had a whetstone? Can I sharpen the hair off of the sheep? Hmm. How do wool? Don't want to commit to this until I'm sure I won't harm sheep accidentally attempting to collect fibers. Knife doesn't show up in the apply list. Unless maybe if I unwield the knife? Definitely don't want a knife at the sheep. That would mean violence. That would be attempt to butcher sheep. Or at least, pre-butcher. The murder part. Let's make more rope. Well, more rope equivalent plant fiber. Yeah, that skin is in beverage container. Someday Fjord could make barrels. Okay, what's important here is that Fjord did finish the additional chords. Yes. Yes, he did. Good work, Fjord. Okay, it might be that shearing sheep remains absent of the mod.
Might be, yeah.
And so my only source of fabric will be plant-related. If I ever find some flax or nettle or reed.
Any of those non-sheep plants.
Yes. Sadly, sheep is meat.
Right.
Fjorg does not meat. Be it noted that to many cultures of the ancient world, fish is not meat. Fish doesn't count. Fish isn't real.
Fish is so much not meat that you can claim some things are fish so you can eat meat during Lent.
Yes.
Like beaver.
Fish
Beaver's
is
a
not
fish.
real. The usual foundation for the distinction being that fish don't breathe, and breath is important in a lot of mythologies and
Right.
religions. Breath is the spirit. Fish aren't really alive, they're some sort of strange ocean homunculus. A fish is an especially agile rock. Guess I'll grab more twigs. Oh no, I'm ready to drop. Yeah, Fjorg is just very tired. Quick sip of water. Then we put Fjorg to bed early.
Just gonna go ahead and tuck Fjorg in.
And in the middle of the night, we wake up having experienced unity with the world.
Nice.
Fjorg, have you... Alright, that's not a new ritual, but good to know he's still getting experience.
Perfect.
You are a bit cold. I'll just go ahead, let you slide over here and light the fire, and then slide back into the shelter, and then sleep it off. There we go. You know, the Iron Age equivalent of reaching exactly far enough to hit the snooze button, but instead you start a fire while half awake.
Mm-hmm.
As customary. At some point I must destroy that bird, if for no other reason that it keeps interrupting me.
Yeah, grouse are quite loud, as birds go, too.
Mm-hmm. Alright. More housework. How much further can Fjord get? Alright, that's pretty appreciable. That was like a solid quarter bar on one round of fatigue. Kind of weird that you're still looking in a direction when laying down. Fjord cannot point his head skyward.
Yeah. Well, Fjord just sleeps healthily, you know? He sleeps on his side every time.
He can only lay on his side.
It's good for him. He won't ever get back sores.
Yeah, the raft and the thawing of the lake solved a lot of Fjord-related economy problems. So now we can go fish whenever. Proper-like, without risk of drowning. For all his many complications, Fjord boats well.
What he was born for. Boatin'.
It is done. Step 2 of Fjord home. Behold. Beautiful.
Beauteous. Wonderful.
I should probably make the next 2 of these adjacent to one of these corners rather than staking out the next corner, because then I could put in like full floor and the fireplace, and then have real fire over here. We begin to create the cottage, the old Casa Fjord. In preparation for that, I should move some of these rocks. See how many rocks Fjord can move before passing out. I got like halfway there. That's appreciable. And it's a lot of rocks. Yeah, just leave these here. That's adjacent to where they need to be. Like, there will eventually be floor here, and I will just put the fireplace in the corner. I need to build that wall, and then a floors tile there. That'll be that much closer to Fjorg Hut. Most of Fjord's forecasts are it'll be about the same. Temperature just is. The weather will be.
I don't think he's been wrong so far. Therefore, trustworthy.
Fjorg is in fact a powerful scholar.
Yes. I mean,
He knows
just look at
of
him.
several weather.
How could he not be a nerd?
Look how wise that Fjorg portrait looks. Whereas all of the portraits are of that quality of clearly the developers and their friends in wilderness costume photographed, and it's great.
It rules.
Alright, you will put your shirt back on.
So help me, Fjorg. Put your shirt back on right this instant.
There we go. There is very readily apparent payoff in going shirtless during lumber work. But clearly it's not yet warm enough to just remain shirtless indefinitely. Let's think of Fjord's health. Gotta keep Fjorg safe.
Stay safe, Fjorg.
Go ahead and put down my axe. Just leave it near the building site, my axes. Since most non-full lumber tasks, the knife suffices as a tool. Cellars are a thing that you can build that are valuable for food storing. Someday Fjorg will create a storage hole. Yeah, if I, over here, one of these requires trunks and boards and more stones. So finding more stones would be of use. The 35 there already allocated for the pit, well, for the fire. I have walked moderate distance in most directions to find those stones. You can discover more over time. Sometimes there's just whole logs laying around in the forest, ready for use. Just a free log. Free that fell itself. No permission needed. That said, in order to get those 35 rocks, I've been to most immediate nearby areas. I could I could sail to, like, the opposite side of the lake and check that for rocks. Which would also then have the raft to transport the rocks with as well. Many options open up to Fjorg. Several hours of fire should be fine for a spring night. Let's go fish. And yeah, probably sailing out this far, if I zoom out, almost illustrates how wide the lake is. Actually, just row out to the middle, and yeah, there we go. There's the shallows on the far side. Fjorg has walked over to roughly over there, pointing now, in pursuit of rocks. I will not let this bird interrupt my fishing. Alright, nice pike. Alright, those are both large fish. I'd like to catch something small for my sacrifice. There we go. Oh, that's a haul. Look at that. That's a lot of fish. But, you know, the roaches, being very small, they're a snack fish. I'm wondering, with so many large fish, that's like 7s, 4s, maybe give back a whole bream? I mean, the lake has been good. When the lake is kind, we must be kind in turn. There we go. Pop those off, and then we get a good food fire going. Still a few hours worth of fire. Individual firewood chunks are relatively small. We're not gonna get the real good economy out of those until we have the fireplace.
A real wood economy.
I'll just go ahead and throw a sapling in there. There we go, that's good for the rest of the day. Fire starting is probably more difficult when things are wet, in the rain, what have you.
That would make sense.
Oh, while we're waiting for those to roast, I guess we'll go looking for more rocks. And collect on the side benefits of our bird infestation. At least that means there's feathers everywhere. Also, just incidentally, tiles down here on the close-up view, you can see they are 2 meters each. Every 50 squares in close-up mode is a square on the overworld map. A healthy walk. That also means for, this scavenging that I'm doing right now, I'm kind of grinding out the process in detail on this Fjorg walk. But the trip home can be made very simple if I feel like it. There we go, there's a real stone. 1 of 10. Another... At some point, Fjorg may have to resort to building a hammer and smashing real rocks into small rocks.
No fake rocks, though, right?
Yeah, now we're over into the place I didn't scour the first time around, so there's plenty of large rocks here. And there, it is that easy to get back. I figured I would do, since the small fish are definitely done by now. Good snack fish. Sheep, where'd you go, sheep? Hold still. Start my new rock pile over here. Since this is probably where I'd think to put a food cellar. It's already most of the stones I'll need for it. Roasts will last for a couple of days.
Good old roasts.
The more durable foods require fancier processes, which we won't have until we have fireplace for drying space. Or if we somehow discovered salt out here in Wood Swamp.
You're not gonna get any salt out
There
here.
is no salt here.
No, there's no such thing as salt. Salt
There's
doesn't
no
exist.
way.
Yeah.
That's the stuff of legends. No one really believes in salt.
Yeah.
All this alleged salted meat is actually just dry.
Mm.
Dry and slightly weird. Alright, that pike is still resting its own. Just as a proof of concept, let's row the raft from one side of the lake to the other. We hit 5 kilometers an hour, even with our trash ore. Fjorg is swift. Fjorg can raft faster than he walks.
Dang.
And, alright, so yeah, with that walk, we've actually seen every side of this, and there's no, like, substantial river in or out of this lake. Just a self-contained pond. Maybe it floods deeper into the summer? Who knows?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe everything that we've built so far will end up underwater at some point. Such is life. I like that it notes when you overhear sheep. As though it were any other animal, just, sheep sign. Sheep
There's
detected.
a sheep about.
Sheep in area, beware. What if you could practice tracking by just following your own domestic animal around?
Sheep is
Yep.
confirmed.
Them as sheep prints. Fjorg crossed a lot of this wilderness to get here in the first place, but was doing so overland. They don't have detailed views of the forests. These woods have been pretty non-threatening so far, though, so Fjorg feels plenty safe. There have been no wolves, no bears, not even an elk. Not a single feral deer.
That's honestly a good thing. Those are real nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Those will mess you right up.
Deer will cut a man in half. There. That's every stone that I need for a cellar. It's another short-term project I can work on. And the grouse travels this far. Oh, okay, I didn't quite leave my home tile going out this far. So I can't fast travel back. Unless I walk even farther away and then fast travel to reverse it. It's fine. If I end up having to traverse this land a whole lot over a span of time, we can just, like, torch a swath of forest to open up space. Where this is something that's going to be done anyway, since, so the agriculture that gets practiced in this region in this era is the old slash and burn method. Quite common in heavy woodlands.
You just burn down a good chunk of the woods, and then you use that now burnt wood as fertilizer.
You simultaneously clear space and fertilize the soil for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when the soil goes bad, you abandon the field, let the forest grow back, and return to it years later. I have my stone. Or, wait, did I miscount? Was I off? Right, yes, I still need one more stone from somewhere. Try more north. There you are. There's a perfectly good rock. The tree trunk is also going to be of use for this, so let me review the old bill of materials is. If I were to try to create my food cellar, say to my immediate left, 6 trunks, 6 boards, 10 stones, and a shovel. Got the boards over here. Use my finest boards. My least bad boards. It's a hole in the ground. It doesn't need fancy boards. Fjorg cannot lift 5 trees. 5 saplings. Alright, how many can you handle? 2. Exactly 2. And this sort of thing is what the shove command is in great part for. Doesn't take nearly as much effort to slide an object as it does to lift and carry it. You have a shovel over here in my equipment pile somewhere. There it is. You can tell which items Fjorg inherited from his father, because they're not garbage. They're mediocre quality. Well, I think the fine knife was on Fjorg at the start. Which is to say, you know, he received it as a gift from his father. Okay, Fjorg has managed to build most of a hole. Very good. Quite enterprising. And the fish is ready. Stumble over here, grab that, snap into it, be too tired to move because he is weighed down by the rest of this fish. There's still a little bit of fire left. That's a fine day's work. Rest well, Fjord. Drink your bowl of day old milk, and then we'll, perhaps someday join Fjorg again. There are many trees to fell, and many walls to build.
Mm-hmm.
There are many fish in the lake.